Welcome back to the morning show on Tobago Updates Television. We continue conversations this morning, and this time we're speaking with Mr. Jimmy Toussaint. He's the president of T.R.I.P, as well as Mr. Barry Jofield. Are we talking this morning about what is T.R.I.P? What is TRIP as we speak? You're going to get the information as it relates to that and some of the events that they have been hosting on the island of Tobago and, in the diaspora. So we're going to get that conversation started this morning as we get the details to you. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Right, good morning and welcome, and thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, right. Good morning. Do you have Barry on online also? Hello? Hello?
Good morning. I'm speaking with
Good
Jimmy
morning.
Toussaint.
Yes, you're speaking with Jimmy Toussaint. Are you hearing me?
I am hearing you now, yes, and Barry's
Right.
also
All right.
here.
Barry's on now. Barry's on now. Okay.
Right, so we're talking this morning about something called TRIP. And so, of course, it's just an acronym. And of course, we want to know what TRIP is and the genesis, the idea behind TRIP and its benefits, of course, to the people of Tobago.
Okay, Barry, you could go ahead.
Totally. So, good morning, Tobago. I would start off basically by looking at our economic state in Tobago. And I think that was the genesis for TRIP. TRIP basically means Tobago Reconnecting Investment Program. And if we look at the economic state of Tobago, by way of GDP per capita, Trinidad and Tobago is about fifth in the Caribbean. So we have St. Kitts and Nevis, followed by Antigua Barbuda, followed by Barbados, followed by Antigua Barbuda, followed by Guyana, followed by Trinidad and Tobago. And Tobago is somewhere way down uh, below Trinidad and Tobago. In fact, um, the average GDP per capita per month for Tobago is about $4,000, which means the average Tobagonian earns a pensioner's salary. I don't mean anything by saying that, but it is the fact of where we are in terms of what we are producing. So we are producing on average pensioner's salary, pensioner's income. And we need to improve from there if Tobago is going to um, make its way in the world. And based on the list I called before, we have about three of those islands which are like Tobago, um, operating on a tourism slash agro economy, but they are doing much better than even Trinidad and Tobago. And why is that? They have this program called Citizen by Investment Program, and what they do basically, on average, they will have any investor from any part of the world that was willing to invest, let's say, 100,000 US dollars. They would give them citizenship and allow them to occupy the space. Um, However, we thought there was a better way to do that if we were able to tap into the diaspora, because we have, I think, more people in the diaspora than we actually have living in Tobago. And that forms the basis of some kind of economy that is existent outside of Tobago that could add some value to Tobago. Just quickly before I hand you over to Jimmy, there are two economic activities that we think could add some significant impact to the Tobago space. One of which is a University of Tobago, but this university will have campuses that are operated by international universities. So, for example, a person like Dr. Jimmy Toussaint, who is a chemical engineer, if you had a faculty run by a university out of the US that is located in Tobago that confers a degree that is a US degree, then we could probably have somebody like Dr. Jimmy Toussaint come back to Tobago, lecture, be a part of the Tobago space, and the university in Tobago, let's say by where the Scarborough Mall was, would be the kind of fillip that a Scarborough redevelopment project might require. Then, secondly, quickly, something like a marina, or two marinas, in fact, which would add some Philip to the Tobago space as well. If we were to get prospectors together and have the diaspora invest in it, we would also have another great opportunity for investing and developing Tobago. And it's along those lines that we have, purposed to start with the low-hanging fruit of agro-processing, agro-processed products, and the export as a way of beginning this drive of Tobago exporting, earning its way, earning its keep. So at this point, I just want to hand you over to Dr. Toussaint, who will talk a bit more about um, the practical aspects of this agro-processing event that we had and the implications for exporting Tobago products.
Dr.
Yes,
Toussaint.
thank you, Barry. One correction: I am not the president of TRIP. Actually, Barry is one of the co-founders of TRIP. I am Dr. Jimmy Toussaint. I'm a engineer slash scientist, chemist, adjunct professor by training. But putting that aside, I am actually a born and bred, proud Tobagonian who is looking to give back to Tobago. Presently, I'm the founder of a business based in Tobago called Bayleaf at Bacalet. It's just about 1 year old, and it's a multi-purpose business. We're actually looking at several different spaces that we're working in. One is accommodation and experiences. Two is events and entertainment. Three, real estate. And four, which I think is probably the most important one, is that we are working on projects with young people, encouraging them, helping them to become uh, entrepreneurs. With regard to what Barry said, many people probably would know me. Uh, I've been on Tobago Updates several times, but mostly representing another organization based in the US here. I'm in the US, New York, presently, called the Tobago Empowerment and Alliance Mission. I was a founding member of that organization, and I held the post of PRO for, I think, over 8 or 9 years. And holding that post allowed me to interact with, have this huge network. And I should tell you, outside of team, from since 2016, I have been trying to see, as Barry mentioned, getting Tobago products, agro products, etc., to the US market. And the question is, why why am I interested in that? So it's a weird story. But back in 2016, I was in Tobago and shopping in one of the supermarkets, and I saw all these Tobago products. And then it had me thinking, because I shop in New York also, and as a West Indian, when you see these West Indian products like chubby and all that stuff, it puts a smile on your face. So I would see these products, but I know that these products are basically uh, Trinidad type products. Nothing against that, but then I said, how come we have, Trinidad based products here? And I went home and I saw all these Tobago products. How come we don't have that here? Because if the know how to get Trinidad product is available and we are one country, then the know how should be also there to get Tobago products to the US market. And from then, I just started, and I said in my private capacity, and I actually continued and pushed that agenda in Team Tobago Empowerment and Alliance mission. And it kind of culminated back in 2022 when the Tobago House of Assembly brought a contingent of entrepreneurs from Tobago with all their, great products, etc., to the Tobago Day. That is an annual event that team is now hosting, but that event has been around for over 40 years. So, Tobagonians on the whole in New York, uh, uh, overseas in the US, they come from all over just to come to the Tobago Day. So we were able to uh, uh, liaise with some distributors, and I kept them on my Rolodex, and some of these entrepreneurs met the distributors, etc. We had a show and tell at the consulate. So 2022 was a pivotal time. However, for the last 2 years, it kind of went quiet. But as the saying says, let sleeping dogs lie. But I just don't believe in that. I just believe you have to get up and do what you have to do. So it was so strange that I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I got this call, and it was from Barry. I have no idea who he is, where is he from, but he called me and he started saying, "I've been researching you." And this is the this is the point he made. He said, "And I realized that you're a go-getter." So we started talking. And strange enough, he brought up that same idea of having agro processors have their products in the US. And I mean, immediately I knew that I had to connect with him. So last week I was in Tobago, and we actually put together a program of agro processors. This was held at the Shore Park Food Hub, and we had a few agro processors come out, show their products, etc. And the purpose of it was, well, there was a double purpose. One was to select certain products based on the distributors that I told you I kept on rolling, seeing what they might have been interested in, and also to sell to the public. So it so happened that 2 days ago, I think it was Sunday evening, I took the products that the distributors were interested in, and some of these products were like pepper sauces, seasoning, confectionery, coffee, cocoa, etc. And I brought it to the distributor actually yesterday, one of the main distributor in Brooklyn for West Indian product. And he had some advice to me. So he loved the products. I would say he was blown back by the coffee. And later on, I actually sent an image of this coffee. I spoke to the producer of the coffee. He said this is something that could sell almost immediately. But other advice that he said, and if you understand the U.S. Landscape when it comes to food, drugs, etc., there are these regulatory hurdles that we need to surpass. But then there are also lower hanging fruits that we could probably, get by. And he mentioned that he would love to work with us to get our agro-processed items, up to speed to enter the U.S. market. However, in the meantime, he also sells these herbs, etc. And he said that if he could get, the bush that we grew up on. Let me talk like a Tobagonian. So I know about Christmas baby bush. I know about guava bush, bay leaf, mango bush, all these different Corylli. He said if he could get those to start with, he has a very strong market for those. So that's just something I want to mention to you all. And he said moving forward, could work with us to, couple of the problems that we have when it comes to products getting to the US. There are several, labeling, the chemistry, etc. Because at the end, and one of our main problem, which is something that we could get the labeling, the chemistry, and all those right because we have products coming here. But I think one of the main issue when it comes to the Tobago space is capacity, because you don't want to be able to send a shipment this month and you can't send a shipment until next year. So those are some of the issues that we are working on. I think that's basically where we are right. That's all I have to say for now. I'll probably turn back over to Barry.
I appreciate very much the information that you guys are sharing this morning. And I'm looking at the comments, some of viewers this morning. Very interesting conversation, of course. Speaking about the Tobago economy, improving the economy here in Tobago is always a very important conversation because it impacts the livelihoods and the standard of living for all of us here on the island. And you mentioned quite a few things that I believe, I'm hoping that you have the conversations with the right stakeholders, that the investments can be made. Mr. Tousaint, you made a reference to capacity. That is one of the primary issues that we face here on the island of Tobago. So, as you go forward with this initiative, I do hope that you are able to have the relevant conversations with the persons who are, who have the ability to support and to give that measure of, investment in terms of allowing Tobago to enjoy the benefits that can come from an initiative like this. I know some of our viewers are talking primarily about the marina that Mr. Barry mentioned and the university as well. So I do hope that, as I mentioned, that the conversation continues. It's not just an idea, that we can have discussion, have discourse with the stakeholders here on the island and even in the diaspora to see what we can do in the Tobago space to get these things established for all of us here on the island of Tobago, and of course for people who are on the outside to be proud of and to be contributors to giving back to the island of Tobago. So I want to take this opportunity on behalf of the Tobago Updates team to wish you guys the very best. I really do want to have a part 2 of this conversation in terms of
Yes.
where the discussion goes and what are the outcomes and the proposals and projections for moving forward. So, thank you so much for sharing this information with us. And of course, the very best. And as I mentioned, I do hope we get to speak again in relation to this to see where it heads in allowing Tobago to enjoy a better economic position.
One thing before I go, so all of these things that I was talking about with the agro-processors, it's going to feed into Tobago Day this year, which takes place on August 18th. So the chatter is that there's going to be another contingent coming for Tobago Day. We are also hoping that we could get some of the items up for Tobago Day, up for in bulk for the distributor. And Barry, as you said, we need to have a part 2 because this is a huge project that what we are basically trying to do is to convert Tobago also to a land of festivals. We need to get back to the festivals, and the festival would be able to, would be a ground, a starting ground for Tobago products. So for product development, all these nice little kuma and all this stuff that you're seeing. We are trying to fuse all of that as part of the economic development, the future economic development for Tobago.
Thank you guys so much for joining us this morning and sharing this information, and of course building excitement, as if not for anyone else, at least for our viewers who are online, who are leaving their comments, and they're also leaving their encouragement to you as well. As I mentioned, we will have further discussions as we progress with this initiative, and we wish you the very, very best. All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us and for being a part of this conversation this morning. But we have to go for a short break before we continue speaking with our guests here in studio. And of course, before we go, we have to invite you to help us share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.